got to come to this realization. You can either have the fruit and the vegetables and those things that are picked, and you can have them picked in foreign countries without the supervision of the federal government with foreign hands, or those foreign hands can pick those fruits and vegetables here and do the kind of backbreaking work that is necessary to pick those. Has anybody ever been out to South Texas by the border and those onion fields? It's 125 degrees, but someone picks that onion. And the next time somebody has a delicious lettuce, tomatoes with some strawberries on the side, think about who picked them. Think about who picked them. All we want is for the people that work hard, that sweat and toil, to be able to have a decent state pay and the security that they're not going to be separated from their families, that they're not going to be destroyed. You know, Congressman, this morning, I kissed Zoraida. It was around 4:45. She got me up at 5, at about 4:45. 45 minutes later, I was out the door, right? But what did I know and what did my wife know as I left her? She knew she was going to see me again. My children, when I said bye to them last Tuesday, they knew that Daddy was coming home tonight. They knew that. They had that. And they knew that the federal government and the local government was going to protect me. Millions of people each and every day fear that when they leave to go to work, that they're not coming home. 1.6 million people have been deported in the last 4 years. 1,600,000. That has had a devastating effect. Kids disappear from classrooms. Ask any teacher where there's a Latino or immigrant community. Parents and families disappear from churches. And when you deport the undocumented immigrant, you also deport American citizens, children who return to countries they know nothing about. Now, we passed the DREAM Act in the House. We didn't get it done in the Senate, but now we're going to do a little bit more than that, Congressman. You know what we're going to do? We're not only going to make sure the Dreamers have a special pathway to American citizenship, which they should have, and that I'm going to fight for, right? But we're going to make sure that right alongside of them, they have their moms and dads. The President of the United States said that he signed the deferred action because he saw the values inculcated in these children. He saw those same values in his own daughters. In his own daughters. Well, we know who's inculcated those values in those young dreamers, right? The original dreamers, their moms and dads. And it's this time we're going to make sure we bring them all and keep them free from deportation. The dreamers and their moms and dads and uncles and their grandparents and their cousins and their brothers and sisters. It's now time to bring the 11 million out of the shadows altogether. And in order to do that, we're going to need to have a persistent and consistent lifting of voices throughout America. Congressman Cleaver and I know what it takes to know, right? Any demand that does not have a consistent and persistent demand from outside of Washington, D.C. doesn't get action inside of Washington, D.C. Let's make it clear. And now, we have a wonderful opportunity where people are coalescing. November 6th was a special day. It was a special day. Because on November 6th in Colorado and in New Mexico, everybody remember counting the votes in Florida? We didn't have to wait to I did. I remember I went to sleep in 2000 and Al Gore was president. I woke up at 6 in the morning and Bush was president. That's how I remember 2000. We didn't have to wait for those who wanted immigration reform and those who believed in the cause of justice for immigrants. Because in Florida, and in New Mexico and in Colorado, and in California and Illinois and New York, immigrant communities arose that morning to vote for comprehensive immigration. You saw the talking heads on the night of there's a lot of Latinos in America, really, and you're just coming up with representation. Immigration seems to be a very important issue that people were voting on, really. And you missed the millions of people marching? And you just missed our community's demand for justice around immigration? And now everybody says, hey, but you want to know something? I stood with Congressman Paul Ryan. I saw him in the gym. And following a lead from Congressman Cleaver, I saw him He knows I did everything I could to make sure he never left the House of Representatives to become vice president. He knows I did that. I went all around this country. He extended his hand to me in the gym and said, Luis, it's time we get immigration reform done. Not because of the politics, but because it's the right thing to do. He said to me, he said, Luis, you're Catholic, I'm Catholic. Our values, they're issues one thing, right? Values is another. He said to me, our values cannot allow us to have a permanent underclass of people who can never reach. Now you can say, well, he might have said that to me in the gym. No, he did better than that. 10 days ago, he came to Chicago, Illinois, to my city before the City Club, and stood with me and repeated those exact same words. And after the tragedy of the terrorism in Boston, and the reporters all said, well, I guess we're not going to do comprehensive immigration reform, and they asked him, this is the vice presidential candidate for Romney. What did he say? He says, no. I insist that this is a reason to continue to do it, to make America safe and to make America secure, to get comprehensive immigration reform. So we need friends and we need allies, and they're coming forward. But we also need to get 218 votes in the totality. Now, Congressman Cleaver and I are good, but we can't make 201 count as 218 up on the board. We can't do that. We're in the minority in the House of Representatives. The Senate's got a good proposal. You got Republicans and Democrats working there. We need another one. I just want you to think, on guns, there is no conversation, dialogue whatsoever. On the budget and budget priorities, there is not a conversation whatsoever. But on immigration, we have the possibility to forge a better nation for us all. Because I know none of us wants to be an accomplice to the exploitation of millions of American workers who go out every day to work. And lastly, think about it a moment. For those of us that, I wasn't there in the 50s and the 60s for the Civil Rights Movement. I didn't get that involved in the fight against apartheid. I wasn't there in the 1915, 1920 for women's and the suffrage movement. I wasn't an organizer in the AFL-CIO for workers' rights. But you know what? This is a moment that you have to make sure you say to yourself, I was there and I did something about it. I participated and I made America a better place. And I'm able to look myself in the mirror and say, yo hice algo, yo me comprometí, y yo ayudé a mi prójimo. Because, you know, we go to church and to love God above everything else, but to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I can say, well, what does that mean? He's not only my neighbor physically, because his children play with my children. We go to the same shopping centers, right? We go to the same schools. We worship in the same houses of God. But he's my neighbor. Es mi prójimo. Está hecho en mi semejanza. Right? He's a reflection of me in God's light. I have to do something. And if I have rights, and I love my neighbor as I love myself, I have to make sure he has the rights that I have, and a little bit better. And a little bit better. And that's what we're doing, because that's the way the history of America has been done. Now, we're going to secure the border. Because comprehensive immigration reform is also about what? Making sure that in America, listen to this, that in America, any job created in the United States of America, somebody born in the United States of America gets the first crack at that job. Anybody born here gets the first crack at that job. But you can't guarantee that. Not with a broken immigration system. And you say, well, that sounds a little harsh, Luis. No. There are opportunities, as there always have been in the history of the United States, for people who want to come new to America. Those opportunities exist. The problem is everybody keeps saying, well, why don't they use the right way? Because there is no right way to come to the United States of America. We will design an immigration system that will allow workers to come here. Not like the workers that were brought from Mexico in the 30s and the 40s in the Bracero program, to be exploited. But workers who will be able to come here to be integrated into the fabric of our working communities throughout this nation. So we're going to do security. We're going to make sure, but we're also going to make sure that little kids 4 million American citizen children are going to be in peace. So you have millions of American citizen children, and you know what their only memory? Their only memory of the federal government is that, God, you know, when I was 8 and 7 and 9 and 10, the federal government, what's my memory of government? Even the local police, because they make them immigration agents. And depending on where you live, they make everybody an immigration agent. No, they do in some part, right? You go to Arizona, everybody's got to be an immigration agent. Think about you're a little kid, and that's what you grow up. Federal government isn't helping you get a better education, health care, a better roof under your... nothing. But the federal government is out there to get your mom and dad and take them away from you. We've got to end that abusive system. Bring people. And what does that mean? That means we're going to take the 11 million, we're going to say, okay, we're going to give you a chance. Have a fresh start. We're going to ask you to come forward, register with the government. Make sure you got all your back taxes paid. Give us your fingerprints, because we're going to do a background check and make sure that you don't have any criminal background. Then we want you to come to city colleges like this one and enroll in English classes and in civics classes. We want to integrate you, right? We want to give you an opportunity. And sometime down the road, we're going to, if you want, because you cannot legislate loyalty and fidelity to a country. You can't. But you should always give the opportunity to people to become full-fledged members in any society, because that strengthens us. I want people who want to be just like me, committed to this country, right? Committed to its growth and to its protection. And that's American citizenship that guarantees that. We already had a civil war about that, about a permanent underclass in America. We're not going to allow that to happen again. We're going to allow them a pathway to American citizenship for those who wish to integrate themselves, which I know will be the vast majority of them. And look, 500,000 Latinos turn 18 every year. Yeah, as some of you are thinking, are they all legal? Yes. I'm only talking about the ones that are American citizens. And in 20 years from now, it will be 850,000 every year. And there's nothing you can do about that, even if you don't have a legalization program. So the politicians better understand that that youth is getting registered to vote. It is growing. And it has little patience for those who treat their brothers and sisters and parents and their community poorly. It is time to treat them well. I want to, before I end and we go into the question and answer, I want to say thank you again to your congressman. He's really a very dear friend, and he's special. He comes to the Democratic caucus meetings. You guys aren't allowed, the press is not allowed, the public doesn't get allowed to those. He doesn't come to those meetings to talk about politics. You know when he comes? He comes to share wisdom with us. To share wisdom with us so that we can treat each other better, which I think is the correct antidote that the Congress of the United States. It needs people who whisper into other people's ears kindness and generosity and understanding versus vitriolic division, right? And that's your congressman. So I couldn't say no to him. He's done so much. And let's face it, you know what my self-interest is, right? Getting comprehensive immigration reform. How can I say no to somebody that I know is going to be critical to getting it done? Thank you so much for allowing me to talk to you.